If you're a beginner and you're just starting out in the gym at your fitness journey, we are here for you today. I'm super fired up for this video. We're going to answer a bunch of frequently asked questions that can help you as a beginner or somebody just starting out in the gym. We're going to talk about working out, having no energy. We're going to talk about low intensity versus high intensity cardio for fat loss and which one is the best for you. And we're even going to discuss if chewing gum is really the reason why you can't lose any weight. So make sure to stay all the way until the end of the video for that, because we've got some action-packed info for you today. So thank you all for joining me. Go ahead and pop a like in this video and let's jump right in. So the first thing I wanted to talk about in today's podcast is this idea of working out with zero energy. So if you're tired, you wake up and you're like, oh, I don't feel like doing any type of workout at all. Should you actually work out? And this next step is going to hopefully answer that for you. So let's just ask in general, are you consistent? Yes. Okay, if you are consistent, I would potentially recommend maybe trying to do your normal workout. Because what happens a lot of time with individuals when they go into the gym and they feel tired and that they have no energy and they try their normal workout, usually they'll be able to build some momentum and actually feel good. And a lot of people can usually end up finishing their full workout because of that. You could also do the same thing, so trying that normal workout, but if that doesn't work out for you, what you can do instead is trying to do a lower intensity option. So maybe you're planning on doing a full back squat workout. Maybe you're going to do some bench press, but you're like, it's just not working too good for me. So what you can do is kind of just bump down a little bit. So maybe instead of 3 to 5 sets of bench press or squats, you only do 1 set today because that's all you can handle. Also too, if you're consistent with your workouts, taking an off day is probably going to be okay with you. If you're not somebody who consistently day in and day out is skipping your workouts, taking an off day is usually for a lot of people something that would probably warrant them some good benefits actually, instead of just pushing through that workout. So if you are able to fit in an off day into your workout routine, if you let's say work out 3 days a week, you have 4 other days in the week that you could technically fit in another workout because you have 4 off days. So you could just flip your days around a little bit too. And then I think one of the most important things that you need to do is just to simply assess why your energy is off. Are you not sleeping the best? Is your recovery not the best from potentially under eating? Or maybe you're overperforming in the gym, you're doing too much. You could just have a lot of life stressors going on. These things really do compound, and they can compound extremely quickly when you are first starting out. So keep that in mind. Now on the flip side, if you are not consistent with your workouts, I would start incredibly small, maybe just doing like a 5-minute jog or just some light stretching, nothing too crazy before your workout, and do what you can. Because a lot of times for people who aren't consistent, I'm definitely not going to say you're being lazy, but a lot of people who aren't consistent usually are just tired. Not because they are fatigued from doing too much and having too much stress and being too consistent, obviously. They're just tired from not moving. And it's kind of this conflicting thing where people think, oh, I'm tired, so I need to rest. Usually a lot of the times when people are really tired and they're about to work out, the workout will actually help to energize them. This happens so many times. Now, if you don't have a lot of energy and you're thinking, okay, what are some lower intensity options? Of course, you can try some lower intensity cardio. I really like walking. That's one of my favorite ones that I do very frequently. So you can go out for a little walk. You can do a light bike ride. Maybe you can just go do a light swim. You could go kind of walk around a pool for a little bit, shoot some hoops, play a sport. Again, not super intense, but just something that gets the blood flowing, gets your body moving, and gets you ultimately doing something. That's kind of the name of the game here. We're just trying to build some momentum and get us to do something. Maybe even a lightweight circuit. So if you go to the gym, they have all those machines out, and you could set up, okay, I'm gonna do an upper body exercise and a lower body exercise and a core exercise. Boom, boom, boom. Do it really lightweight. Don't really worry too much about pushing yourself and getting the most benefit. Just focus on getting in and doing something. And I already kind of mentioned, you could do some leisure activities, sports, something like shooting some hoops. I play hockey recreationally during the summer, so I might go out and just set up my net and just shoot a net. Yeah, a lot of people have different sports they like. You could shoot around a soccer ball. Frisbee is another good one in the summertime if you're lucky enough to have a good Frisbee area. So those are all really good options. But again, remember to not overstress on hitting your exact goals. So don't stress on hitting your exact workout. Just try to do something, because fitness and health is something that is built on over time. This one workout may seem like it's going to derail all your progress, but to be completely honest, it's not. It's in the long term, in the grand scheme of things, it's not really going to mean anything. But with that said, doing a little bit is going to hopefully lead you to doing a lot of it in your next subsequent workout. So keep that in mind. Like the video if that gave you some good strategic value when you're tied with your workout routine. And the next thing I wanted to dive into is this idea of cardio. So when you're picking cardio routines, you might hear a lot of conflicting stuff on, somebody told me I need to do super low intensity cardio because that helps to preserve my muscle. And then you have people on the complete opposite end of the spectrum who are saying high intensity exercise is something that's going to boost growth hormone. It's going to boost all your anabolic, anabolic means growth, by the way, all your anabolic hormones, which will help you to grow muscle and be the biggest, strongest version of yourself that you can be. So which one is it? All right, let's break this down a little bit. So low intensity cardio is definitely easier to adhere to. It's easier to adhere to because it's not as hard to do. And the harder a form of exercise is for an individual, the less likely that they will actually do that exercise long term. So that's something to consider when you want to know, should I do low intensity versus high intensity? If you're somebody who doesn't get into the gym very easily, doesn't stick to workout programs long term, low intensity could be a better option for that reason. Another reason I really like doing lower intensity forms of cardiovascular exercise is because that you can multitask for the most part during these things. So what do I mean by multitasking? I mean looking up texts from friends. I mean watching YouTube videos or Netflix shows. I mean maybe doing some social media posts for my channel here, right? Forms of low impact exercise like walking, stationary biking, elliptical, Stairmaster. These are all forms of cardio that I can multitask and do all of those things while I'm doing some cardio. So if you're somebody who's strapped for time and you think, I don't have time to do all these different things I need to do, or you're just bored of doing cardio, you can easily multitask and do some different things with it, like the ones I just kind of mentioned and demonstrated. So those are just a few reasons why. Of course, you could probably multitask maybe with high intensity cardio, but usually you're so in the hole and feeling not the best because it is a lot more exertion that you're probably not thinking about multitasking very much. Lower intensity doesn't burn as many calories per minute, right? So since we're not actively exerting ourselves as hard, we're not going to be burning as much energy. So the thing about this is that you can do it for a longer period of time. So even though higher intensity exercise may burn more calories, you can't do it as long. And we're actually going to talk in a sec about a potential issue with this exact reason. So it doesn't burn as many calories, but that's not necessarily a bad thing because you can do it longer over in the grand scheme of things. So you can do a 30-minute walk versus there's no way you're going to be able to do 30 minutes of sprinting, right? Even if you're resting, it's just too hard to do. Another great reason to do lower intensity forms of exercise is it might not beat up your joints quite as much. So if you're somebody who's dealing with some joint issues or just nagging pain, or you always find yourself hurting yourself when you do higher intensity forms of exercise, guess what? If you do this lower intensity, your joints are going to not get beat up as much, which is also going to make you not only just less painful in the immediate future, but you're going to enjoy exercise more because every time you come in, you're not going to be beating yourself up. And when we talk about long-term adherence towards exercise, that's going to be the biggest bang for our buck, and actually enjoying it and not going in thinking that, oh my gosh, I'm literally just going to be killing myself every single day. So when it comes to higher intensity exercise, of course, there are some good benefits from it, but there are also some downsides too. So it definitely takes a lot more willpower to get yourself to do a high intensity exercise routine, because you just have to psych yourself up to get there, to go like, oh, I'm really gonna hit this hard. Some people actually find though that it isn't as hard because they can tell themselves it's only gonna be 5 minutes, it's gonna be a really sucky 5 minutes, but once that 5 minutes is done, I'm done. A lot of people can't get to that level of kind of mental fortitude, so you'll kind of have to wager for yourself of what kind of individual exerciser you are. The other thing about higher intensity exercise, it takes longer to recover from, not just in the workout, but also day to day. So if you're thinking about in the workout, you might be able to do a really high intensity set of an exercise, like a 30-second sprint on a bike, but you'll have to rest for at least 1 to 2 minutes after that, likely, because you can't simply give it your all anymore. And then day to day, it's going to take longer to recover from, simply because it takes a lot on your central nervous system to actually do these higher intensity workouts. So when you're thinking about like, oh, I'm just going to do high intensity 5 minutes every single day, you might be running yourself a little dry, and you might start to notice a little fatigue, especially when you're first starting out. The thing about high intensity exercise, it does burn a lot of calories very, very quickly. And again, as we discussed with lower intensity, this is kind of like a push-pull because you're not going to be able to do it as long. So you're burning more calories, but you're not going to be burning as many calories as long as versus when you do a lower intensity exercise where you maybe aren't burning as many calories, but you can do it twice, 3 times, 4 times as long. Just something to consider overall for yourself when looking at exercise routines. Realistically, for best results, whatever gets you to stick with it and adhere to it long term is going to be your best option. Ideally, you're going to do a combination of both lower intensity and higher intensity exercise because there are benefits from both of them. Higher intensity exercise can help to improve your VO2 max, which is basically your body's and your heart's ability to produce oxygen and blood flow to the max capacity to all the tissues in your body. That usually comes from higher intensity exercise. Lower intensity exercise can help with just general muscular endurance, which is obviously very, very important too. So lower intensity is usually for building a base, and then higher intensity is kind of building your peak of cardiovascular fitness. So both extremely important. In my workout routines, I do mostly low intensity. I do a lot of walking, a lot of light bike rides, and then 2 times a week roughly, I usually do an interval that's a little bit harder, just to kind of getting the best of both worlds there to get those adaptations of both. Just realize too, lower intensity you can do more frequently. So if you are somebody who enjoys exercising basically every single day, you might be more hard pressed on doing more lower intensity forms of exercise, or potentially on your off days of your workouts, doing lower intensity exercise in that exact instance. So go ahead and give this video a like if you got some value and good tips from that for your overall cardiovascular routines, and maybe let me know down in the comments which form you like the best. All right, so let's dive into muscle soreness during our workouts. So when people are working out, and especially when they first start their workouts, they come to me and they're like, oh my gosh, my muscles are so sore. I've never had them feel like this before. What in the world's going on? What in the world should I do? Did I do something wrong? Let's dive into this. So muscle soreness, generally speaking, we usually use this acronym called DOMS. DOMS is essentially delayed onset muscle soreness. This being that when you do a workout, do an exercise routine, you will have usually delayed muscle soreness 24 hours, 48 hours, sometimes 3 days after that workout routine, you'll start to notice some muscle soreness. So what exactly is going on here? Well, this is an inflammation response from the actual workout. Some of it is micro trauma, as in when you work out, your muscles slowly break down just a little bit from that workout, right? You're stressing them, so there's little micro tears and micro traumas in the muscles. That's one thing that happens that can lead to this inflammation, acute inflammation process. And then after that, there's also some fluid and a little bit of swelling that builds up in the muscle tissue as well. This is usually just pressure that's kind of built up around that area. But for a lot of people, when they are working out, they'll kind of think of it almost as pain, because pain receptors and pressure receptors are for a lot of times, hard to fully differentiate between the two. So when you have soreness after that workout, there's usually a little bit of micro trauma, a little bit of damage, but there's also some fluid and swelling, as in pressure that's building up around that area. That's for the most part what's going on when you are dealing with some muscle pain. A lot of people will think, oh, no, that's not true. It's lactic acid. My coach told me that. Or, lactic acid builds up, right? Not true. So there's this fuel. It becomes a fuel, but essentially lactate is something that builds up in our muscles during a workout. And lactate is something that when it builds up, it can actually be used to help to refuel our body and turned into essentially energy that can be used in our workout routine. So that burn you feel isn't necessarily from the lactic acid. There's kind of some other things going on there. But I just want you to realize when you have delayed onset muscle soreness, it's not from lactic acid buildup. Lactate, which is usually what we're talking about with lactic acid, actually helps us to do more exercise. It helps us to fuel that higher intensity workout. So what usually causes it? Well, usually novel exercise is what causes delayed onset muscle soreness. So an example of a novel exercise would be if you're a beginner and you've never done a workout routine before and you go in and do some bench press, then you do a leg press machine, and maybe you do some abs and a little bit of cardio. Likely, that is all novel or new exercise for you. And because of that, you are literally exposing all of your tissues, all those adaptive tissues, to varying different stresses that your body isn't used to actually handling and withholding. So because of this, you usually do get sore from just these novel exercises. But this also does happen with people who are very, advanced, and they exercise a lot too. Myself personally, if I went to the gym right now, even though I'm a pretty advanced trainer and an advanced fitness coach, I could do an exercise that I haven't done in years, and likely, even though I'm well trained, the next day after, I would probably feel some muscle soreness. I would probably feel some DOMS, simply because I'm not used to that exercise form. Also too, and this usually goes in tandem with novel exercise, is that exercises with a large range of overall motion will usually lead to more muscle soreness. And this is simply because, kind of like we said with the last time, you're exposing your tissues to a large amount of demand. And if you're thinking about moving a muscle and a joint through a full range of motion, that's going to be more demand and more stress on your body versus if you are doing maybe like a half squat, for example, or like a cheating bicep curl, for example. You're not using as much overall muscle. You're not putting as much stress on your body, relatively speaking. So that full large range of motion usually adds in a little bit of soreness. On top of that, eccentric focused workouts are going to put a lot of more force on your muscle and connective tissue than doing concentric only training. So you're probably thinking, what in the world is eccentric focused training? This is basically the type of the workout where you are controlling the movement. So when you are squatting and you are lowering yourself down, that's the eccentric. That's kind of the controlling portion of it. When you are doing bench press and you are bringing the bar down, that's the eccentric. That's the controlling portion of it, right? I'm trying to think of another example. When you're doing a row and you're letting the row slowly go away from your body, that's controlling it. That's eccentric. If you do very slow eccentric focused workouts, that's usually going to lead to more soreness. Also too, I just thought of running. Running is a very high eccentric loaded activity because you propel your body forward really fast and really hard, but the impact it takes when you land on your feet is very highly eccentric based. So it takes so much force to be able to absorb the landing from your overall walking. So that's why a lot of people, when they start running for the first time, they get really, really sore. And then of course, if your overall workload is just really, really intense and really, really high, that's going to lead to some muscle soreness and some DOMS potentially as well. So what can you do about it? Well, there's no magic pill, magic potion. Probably the best thing that most people can do to hopefully relieve some of the soreness from their workouts is to just simply rest. Rest can look a lot of different ways. Probably getting more sleep, probably maybe taking some more rest days, maybe taking a deload week or a complete week off. If you are somebody who actually needs it. If you just went in for your first workout and you've never done one before, you probably don't need a full-blown entire week off, but definitely focusing on rest and recovery. Foam rolling and massage can help with muscle soreness and DOMS a little bit because you're kind of pushing some of that fluid and swelling out, as we discussed earlier, and the reason of why you actually come up with DOMS and have these things. And then one of the things that people don't realize is that consistent exercise is probably one of the most potent ways to actually get used to muscle soreness and not get sore ultimately. So when it comes to this, you're probably thinking like, wait a second, he just told me if I was working out hard and a lot that I might be sore. So how does working out more help me to become not sore? Well, this goes back to that novel exercise idea. So if you are doing an exercise routine and you are consistently doing the same thing every single day, it's no longer novel. And that novelty when it comes to exercise is usually what leads a lot of people towards having soreness. So if you notice yourself being sore, try to just be more consistent with your exercise routine. Again, don't go full blown, don't do it every single day, but just realize the more that you do it, the less sore you're overall going to be. And then managing your workload, by far one of the biggest things. So going in, making sure you are sticking to your program. If you don't have a program, probably a good time to assess and make sure you are getting a good program for yourself so you're not doing too much too soon, and just progressing slowly. Again, fitness is a long game. We don't need to hit our extreme maxes today. We don't need to become the fittest version of ourselves today because that's not going to happen. It's going to take a long time. So going with the mindset of that exact thing. Go ahead and like this video if that gave you some good ideas and some valuable insight for you. Let's talk about exercise being the worst thing on the planet. Oh man, you just stepped in the gym and you're like, geez Louise, why did I even come today? Why am I even about to put myself through this torture, right? So does exercise become less awful? So the question I want to ask for you is, why does it feel awful for you? Why does it feel hard? Is it because it literally is too hard? Do you feel like you're literally pushing yourself to the brink every single day when you are going into the gym? Is it because you just don't like exercise, or at least that specific exercise that you're doing on that day? Or maybe it's a little too boring for yourself, and maybe you're thinking, I just can't stay focused. I just can't stay focused. I don't like doing this. It's not fun. Maybe it's a combination of all three. And maybe there's something else. Go ahead and drop a comment below if there's another reason why exercise feels awful for you. Now, the thing that I want to bring up and make as an important point is to realize that exercise will always have some forms of sacrifice. So it's never going to probably feel like it's completely not hard or not boring. This is something that people who exercise for a long time deal with. I myself, I've exercised for a very long time. It's part of my routine. It's part of my daily habit. But I still go through days where I just don't want to. I'm not feeling it. I feel a little bored, and it kind of is what it is. So realize there's always some sacrifice. You're likely going to be sacrificing a little bit of time, a little bit of effort, and just the feeling of being quote unquote uncomfortable. And being uncomfortable is something that a lot of people don't want to do in their daily life. But unfortunately, if you're sacrificing not being a little uncomfortable for a few minutes every single day, and instead just sitting on the couch because it feels good, long term, that immediate feel good will lead to long-term bad feel good, right? So you're basically looking at instant gratification at that point. So just realize when you're exercising, there's going to be some sacrifice, right? There's going to be some sacrifice. So let's talk about a few ways to make it less awful. There's a lot of ways you can do this, and you can probably think of some on your own. These are just some good springboard starting points. Picking exercises you actually enjoy. This is something that so many people will always come up to me and they're like, I just can't exercise. I hate it. Why do you hate it? Well, it's because I just started doing weights. Do you like doing weights? No, not really. I just heard it's the best thing to do. And I'm like, well, although I would want you to lift weights, right? If you hate an exercise, you're not going to do it long term, and you're not going to achieve and receive those long-term benefits from doing exercise. So picking exercises you enjoy is incredibly crucial for this exact reason, right? Do something you enjoy, even if it's just light walking. Because if you're able to do some light walking for literally the rest of your life because you enjoy it versus you trying a workout routine right now that you absolutely hate and you'll never see yourself doing in the long term, guess who's going to have better results? Even if the workout routine is more intense that you don't like, the person who's doing that long-term walking every single day is going to get more results. Listening to music, this is something not a lot of people know, but also too, beyond music, you can listen to podcasts, you can listen to some audiobooks. I like doing podcasts. I used to do audiobooks. You could just listen to anything. I actually do this too occasionally. Sometimes I will just not have anything on and actually just listen to all the sounds of the gym, because I think it's kind of a different perspective of the gym, but that might not be for everyone. I know I'm a little weird when it comes to that sense. Having a tasty drink is a great way to make the gym less awful. So before you go to the gym, maybe you're getting a pre-workout for yourself that's got a nice fruity taste to it. So it's something you can sip on during your workout, not only giving you a little energy maybe, but it tastes good and you're going to enjoy that workout more. There's lots of sugar-free like Crystal Light packets, or I know Walmart, Hy-Vee, all the grocery stores, they have their sugar-free packets. Gatorade has sugar-free packets. There's those little squirt meals too. Little things like that where you're just taking in a drink that helps to make your workout a little bit better can go a really long way. Going with a friend is another really good tactic too. So if you're somebody who always feels bored and you can't stay focused, sometimes having a friend or a workout partner as a kind of not only adherence booster, so They're going to keep you accountable, but also somebody who you can just talk to and make the overall workout less boring is a great way to make workouts suck less. Changing up your environment is another crucial thing that you can do and should do very frequently. So if you always go to the gym and work out and you're like, this is just not doing it for me today, I'm not feeling good, guess what? You can go outside and do a workout outside that day. You could do something at home maybe with just some steps and just a little space in your gym. Maybe you can go do a guest membership at another gym. Switching up your overall environment and workout routine is a great way to make it less awful and less boring if you are somebody who's very consistent. Making sure you're not exercising when you're tired is another very crucial hack, because there's a lot of people who will try to force themselves to work out super early in the morning because they just want to, or they just feel like that's the best time to work out, whatever. Maybe that is the only time to work out for you, and if that's the case, something's better than nothing. But if you can work out during other times of the day where you're more energetic, by all means do that, because it's going to be much less awful for yourself. If you think about doing anything in life tired, it sucks. It sucks. And working out for a lot of people isn't the most pleasurable to begin with. So keep that in mind when you are looking at trying to adhere and get the most out of your workout routine. Being in climate-controlled areas is another thing that people don't often consider. So if you are somebody who doesn't like getting sweaty and doesn't like getting hot, although some gyms are kind of set up with this way, where maybe they're like in a warehouse and you can't find air conditioning, a lot of gyms nowadays are climate-controlled. They have air conditioning, and you can feel pretty comfortable for the most part when you're working out. There's some gyms too which actually have giant blowing fans that when you're working out you can go stand right next to it. So if you really don't like getting hot and sweaty, that's a way to make working out less awful. Trying to find a gym like that. Rewarding yourself after is something that you can also do, and I wouldn't do this every single time, but it is a good idea to maybe once in a while treat yourself to a smoothie after, or go get like a protein bar from your favorite nutrition store, or maybe you're going to treat yourself by letting yourself watch 30 minutes of Netflix. Having these little rewards, little goals, and little things that you can work towards when you're first starting out can give you some good, at least way to hopefully make exercise a little less awful at some point long term down the road. Changing your mindset is also crucial. So a lot of people will start exercising routine thinking like, oh my gosh, I got to get my workout done just because I got to do it, right? And sometimes if we just change the way we look at working out as helping our body or rewarding our body, can give us a little bit of mental psyching up, where instead of it's a punishment, now we're looking at it as a reward, right? This is hard to do. This is maybe more an advanced thing, but if you start looking at exercises, I'm giving myself back years, I'm giving myself back energy, I'm giving myself back strength, versus I have to take time away, I have to take energy away. Exercise is a reward for your body. This is one of the mindset shifts that you should ultimately be trying to make. And then keeping your goal in mind. A lot of people will start working out for a specific reason, whether it's weight loss, getting a little bit faster, getting a little bit stronger, and then guess what happens? They get off track, they look at somebody on Instagram and think, I want that. I want to get a really cool looking body really, really quickly. And what happens is they get demotivated, they don't stick to their goals, they don't remind themselves why they started, and it can lead to a lot of failure. It can lead to a lot of issues long-term down the road for adherence. So just keep those things in mind when you're trying to make exercise a little less awful for yourself, and like the video, because hopefully now you look at exercise in a slightly different light. All right, so let's dive into our next portion, looking at warm-up sets. So when you're starting out your workout in the gym, you might need to think, maybe you're like, oh, I need to do a super long warm-up, or I don't need to do any warm-up. So let's really dive into this. Are warm-ups really useful? So When it comes to warming up, we can look at this as a few different ways, but let's first start by talking about why we should warm up to begin with. Well, one of the first crucial things that I always talk about is that it helps to increase your muscle performance or your overall gym performance. So if you warm up a muscle, you're basically allowing your body to get the central nervous system fired up, so it's able to kind of send those neural signals that, hey, it's time to wake up, we're about to work out, we're about to do some physical activity. So that's one of the things. In addition to this, it can also decrease the risk of injury. So that's another thing to keep in mind, that not only are we boosting our muscle performance, but if you're warming up properly, even just a little bit, you're going to decrease the chance of you hurting yourself, which we know when it comes to long-term exercise goals and achieving the best overall results for ourselves, if we are consistently doing it, not getting injured, that's what's going to lead towards the best overall fitness. So those are two things, but essentially we're just trying to wake the muscle up a little bit, wake our connective tissue up a little bit, maybe wake our body up a little bit. So a general warm-up, just speaking out loud, is something where you're not really warming up for a specific movement, you're just kind of going in, just getting the blood flowing. And a general warm-up could be something like jogging on the treadmill, maybe you're just doing some arm circles or some jumping jacks. And these can be useful. I like to do these if I know my workouts are going to be super, super long, maybe 1.5 to 2 total hours, or I'm very tired when I'm starting out. So those two things are very, very in tandem. So there are also times too where I go in and not only do I have a large workout to do, but I'm like, oh my gosh, like I just feel like I'm gonna fall asleep. So I'll go in, do maybe a 5-minute jog on the treadmill, just to get my body literally awake. Because usually once I start getting the wheels turning a little bit, and a lot of people notice this too, when they start getting moving just a little bit, that little bit of momentum will build tremendously. Also too, if you just enjoy doing longer workouts, that's great too. Or longer warm-ups, I should say, that's great too. Do a general warm-up, do a little bit longer if it's something you enjoy, and if you have time for them, feel free to add them in. But the thing with it is that a lot of people don't have a lot of extra time to do these general warm-ups, so it's something to consider where if you're really strapped for time, you only have 30 minutes. Obviously doing a 10-minute warm-up of a light walk on the treadmill or a jog and then some arm circles, literally you just cut 33% of your workout off in that exact immediate moment. So just something to consider for yourself. A specific warm-up, on the other hand, is of course going to be more specific towards the exact movements we're going to do. So maybe that day we're deciding to do squats and push-ups. So what you could do for a specific warm-up is before doing like back squats with a barbell on your back, you could just do some bodyweight squats, a couple sets of 10 bodyweight squats, and then you could do some back squats with the empty bar, of course. That's a really great specific warm-up. You're doing that actual movement. For push-ups, you could do some elevated push-ups or maybe a push-up hold where you're just kind of holding out in a overall plank position, right, in front of you. That's a good way you can warm up those muscles, get them firing nice and easy. So those are definitely a few ideas. Usually, a specific warm-up is a better use of your time because you're warming up that actual movement, so you're getting your body ready to do what you're going to do, versus if I just do some jumping jacks, I'm not really warming up my squat at all. I'm not really improving my squat mobility at all. Yeah, it's getting some general blood flow in my body, but it's not really helping to transfer over to that actual workout. A specific warm-up is another way to just get a little bit of extra volume in too, and volume done long-term over time is usually what builds muscle, builds strength, and that long-term volume is really, really important. So if you're short on time, I'd highly recommend just sticking with a specific warm-up where, again, if you're maybe just doing some squats, you could do some bodyweight squats, a set or two of that, do some push-up holds or elevated push-ups with your push-ups if that's part of your routine. Don't overcomplicate it. There's plenty of great warm-ups online. You can probably find some on my channel as well. Go ahead and give the video a like if this is giving you some value so far. Let's go ahead and dive into our next topic. And this is going to be really important for people who are trying to become the strongest they can be, but also lose a little bit of weight. So if you are somebody who is currently dieting and you want to get stronger at the same time, is all hope lost for you? Well, here's the deal. Calorie deficits, generally speaking, lead to a loss of both muscle as well as fat. And the larger the overall deficit, the larger the overall calorie deficit is, that is, the more loss there is going to be of both of these things, right? Of both of these things. So I want you to consider that. When you're trying to lose weight, you need to eat less calories per day than you are burning to overall lose weight, right? We all know this. So if you are in a large calorie deficit, so let's say you need 2,500 calories per day to maintain your weight. You are not gaining or losing any weight. And let's say you're eating 2,000 calories and 2,500 is your maintenance. You're eating 500 less calories. When you do that, you will lose fat. You will also lose a little bit of muscle. Now, if you cut that even further to 1,500 calories that you're eating, now you're eating 1,000 less calories per day, you're going to lose more fat, quite a bit more fat, but also more muscle. So keep that in mind. That's just something I wanted to kind of preface. Now, muscle mass usually correlates to strength. And it usually correlates to our overall strength, as in the more muscle you have, usually the stronger an individual is. Now, this doesn't always happen to be the case. You'll probably see some people at the gym who don't look like they have a lot of muscle, but can lift a large amount of heavy weight. And you're thinking, geez Louise, how does he do that? He doesn't have much on him. Well, chances are he probably does have a decent amount of lean body mass, but strength isn't always correlated to your overall muscle mass. Strength is somewhat neurological, as in your body's ability to basically fire all the neural signals at the same time to allow you to use whatever muscle you have to push. So somebody could have a very small amount of muscle, but their body and their neural signals are so snappy and their movement patterns are so good that they can ultimately do that exercise almost as if they had more muscle. So strength is neurological. There's also some muscle-based strength, which is kind of what I said, where if you get a little bit bigger of a muscle, that's going to lead to more overall strength development long-term as well. So when it comes to kind of the, what's the general synopsis here? Am I screwed? Am I not going to be able to gain any strength? What's going on? So getting stronger in a deficit is very difficult for the exact reason I just mentioned, that when you are in a deficit, you are losing muscle, which when you lose muscle, usually you are going to lose a little bit of strength, but you can maintain strength. And that's why resistance training is so incredibly crucial to do. The more severe your deficit is, the harder it's going to be for you to keep your strength or even get stronger. And also the leaner you get, the harder it's going to be for you to overall keep your strength and potentially even get stronger. If you are somebody who has been lifting for a very long period of time, it probably is going to be ultimately impossible for you to get stronger in a calorie deficit unless you are untrained in a specific movement, or on the flip side, if you're somebody who's very untrained, period. So the first example, maybe you haven't bench pressed forever. I don't bench press a lot. And say I started losing weight today, and then I just started this bench press routine that had me bench pressing 4 times a week, I would probably lose weight and I would be losing a little bit of fat and muscle, but I would probably gain strength because I haven't been doing that movement frequently, even though I'm very highly trained. Also on the flip side, usually people who are very undertrained can lose a lot of weight, a lot of fat, and actually build muscle and strength at the same time. So this is the case where if you're a beginner, that's great news, because you're probably thinking, oh my gosh, building muscle and strength at the same time and losing fat, that's amazing. That doesn't happen for a lot of people unless they're on like anabolic steroids or something. So when you're first starting out, that is something you can 100% look forward to. You're going to lose a lot of fat very quickly and gain a lot of strength very quickly. But getting stronger in a calorie deficit is pretty difficult for most individuals, but you might be in that demographic where it is possible. Go ahead and like the video if this is giving you some good value so far. All right, so let's talk about something that might not be maybe the most, I should say, politically correct topic, or something where people don't want to address the elephant in the room, but you might have some family that does not want you to be fit. They don't want you to be healthy. They don't care about it. They're more concerned about themselves, and you're trying to change your life. You're trying to become the healthiest and most fittest version of yourself. So what do we do about that when we have a family who isn't supportive? Now, I'm going to say I'm not an expert on this. I'm going to give my best advice, and this is also a very individualized and very tough and sticky situation. But just when first starting out, realize where your family or friends or loved ones are coming from. They might be a little jealous that you're starting to work out. They might be scared of family events changing, where maybe they're going to start to need to make more healthier food at the family events, right? Oh my gosh, she's going vegan or something. I don't know, like how our birthday's going to work, how our wedding's going to work. Like, are we not going to be able to do anything like that, right? So there's a little bit of fear that comes involved. There also might be some fear and doubt, and ultimately they might think that you're going to be trying to change them, and you might even be judging them. This could be what's going on in their head. So just realize that when you're trying to make changes for yourself, people will immediately take it almost as a personal attack that you think they need to be changed. And you see this in a lot of aspects of life, but especially in health and fitness, where people usually don't want to change their dietary routines, change their physical activity routines. It is something that is a big issue, because you're trying to make a change, and you absolutely can make a change, but being around family who might not be the most supportive of you makes that much more difficult. So because of that, we need to understand what we can control. Now, what can we control in this situation? We can control our actions. So of course, we can still go and work out. We can still try to make healthier choices and eat healthier things, right? We can control our attitude towards our family. So maybe they don't want to be super fit right now, or they aren't into the overall healthy eating, and you could judge them. You could like make comments on them. Or you can be from the opposite spectrum, where you understand that for them, this is a pretty difficult time, and for them, they might not be at a position where they don't want to make any changes currently right now for themselves. Maybe someday they will, and hopefully at that point, you'll be in a situation where you can help to navigate them and make it easier for them when they start to transition in. But if they don't want to change, you can't force them to change. And trying to force somebody to change, especially when fitness and health, is completely useless, because they're just going to resent you, and they're going to resent the process of changing even more. So be there for them when they do want to change. And then when we're also talking about what we can control who we hang out with, we can control who our friends are, we can control basically if we're around those people that are not supportive of our overall goals. So this is why I think finding a community is by far one of the most important things that you can do to hopefully help you to get through this tough time where your family isn't supporting your workouts. So Maybe you have friends who work out and are really into fitness. That's a really good anchor point because you might be able to even go stay with them at their house. You might be able to have healthy meals with them and meal prep with them. Those are good ideas. You could join a group gym. These are things like Orange Theory, CrossFit, Farrell's Body Shaping. Basically, these gyms are kind of made around, Hotworks. These gyms are made around this idea of community. And community is so important for every aspect of life, but especially when fitness. Fitness isn't, the most fun thing all the time. You're going to be tired. You're not going to always feel like you want to. So it's nice meeting people at the gym who are in the same situation where you're kind of just embracing the suck together, if you will. So finding a group gym is one of the ways you can do that. There's some good online meetup pages where basically, I think meetup.com is actually one where you can literally type in your surrounding area, type in fitness in Ohio, in your specific town, for example, and it will show literally a million different fitness venues. I'm on one of these fitness pages, or I used to be. I actually got rid of it because I didn't use it that much, but I got on one of these online meetup pages for fitness where there was biking groups weekly, there was yoga groups weekly, they put a bunch of healthy food events in there weekly. They put a lot of different things in there where you can meet up with this like-minded community, meet up with people who are hopefully a lot more supportive of your overall fitness goals and will lead you towards that fitness success long-term. And then, of course, you can go to some outdoor workout venues. You can meet a lot of cool people at these places, the quote-unquote park gyms. And it's just out of your normal routine. So if normally you are working out at home or you're working out maybe in an environment that isn't the best or conducive for you, you can try some of these outdoor workouts if you have good access to these. And they're just fun, kind of different. And then kind of the elephant in the room that I wanted to address is moving out. So if you are really in a position in your life where you're kind of at the ends roads, maybe you're very, very unhealthy and you're just ready to make that big change in your life, this is very drastic, but something you might want to consider for yourself. If you're able to actually move out of the situation, that will probably give you the quickest and the most potent results, because the more you're around negative people that just leech all your energy off of you and make you feel like crap, not only physically and mentally, the harder it's going to be to achieve your fitness goals long term. So tough decision and situation there if you are listening in on this. So comment down below kind of what you're going through in this too, and if you do notice this in your family or you've had family issues in the past like this. I know myself personally, I've had some conflicting issues, but for the most part, I have a supportive family when it comes to fitness and health. So I realize how much easier it is for me to be healthy. All right, let's dive into the next part. So chewing gum. Is this really why you can't lose weight? I think you might be surprised with this. So there's so many people who come up to me and they're like, I'm chewing gum, I just started my weight loss, and I just don't know. Should I continue to chew it? Well, here's the deal. Let's look at how weight loss occurs to begin with. So weight loss occurs when you are in a calorie deficit. And the flip opposite side of that, most people are in a calorie surplus, which means if you're eating 2,500 calories as a maintenance and you're in a calorie surplus, maybe you're eating 3,000 calories a day, you're going to gain weight. You need to eat, of course, less than that 2,500 calorie maintenance if that's how much you need to eat. And this is kind of just an example, but you need to eat less than that. So we know that when it comes to weight loss, we need to maintain our calories. So if chewing gum would actually make us gain weight, it would probably need to be a large amount of calories or contributing to us eating a large amount of calories. So let's look at calories in one stick of gum. Now, if you flip around a package and look at a stick of gum, usually it says 5 calories or less than 5 calories. So let's just go through this hypothetical thought experiment. If there is literally 5 calories in a piece of gum, you would need to eat 500 pieces of gum a day on top of your normal food to gain weight. How many people are eating more than 2 pieces of gum a day? Maybe 3. I don't know. I really don't know. A lot of people are eating a couple pieces of gum a day, maybe after their meals, maybe before their meals. I like to do it after my meals because it's kind of cleansing. But you are literally adding maybe 10 to 20 calories on top of your entire day. So should you really be concerned? Gum virtually has no calories. Oh, it says on there gym has no calories. The gym doesn't have any calories. The gym has no calories, that is for sure. But gum has no calories. So here's the thing though. The extra chewiness from the gum, there can be some pros and cons. For some people, chewing a lot will actually make them kind of salivate and get more hungrier, while other people, it will actually kind of curb their craving and make them not eat very much. Myself personally, it does that opposite, so I don't really crave as much when I'm chewing gum. Other people, it's the exact opposite, where they start getting more hungry. So it's something you kind of have to play with for yourself. But when it comes to overall calorie content, there's 0 calories basically in the gum. Don't really worry about the artificial sweeteners. There's a very small amount of them, and a lot of the studies done in artificial sweeteners where rats are getting cancer was basically where they were super dosed with artificial sweeteners. If you are concerned about artificial sweeteners, some brands of gum actually do make them without artificial sweeteners at all. So that could be a potentially good option for you if you do want to consume a little bit of gum for your weight loss goals. There are some that are a little more natural. But when it comes to chewing gum, man, don't stress out. Don't worry about it. And this kind of goes in line with a lot of the 0-calorie drinks and beverages and all those things, diet sodas, etc. They are not the reason why you are gaining weight or can't gain weight. They have 0 calories in them. So if you are struggling with weight loss or struggling with gaining more weight, it isn't because of these things. It isn't because some magical thing in this different food or diet drinks. It's likely you're eating too many calories on a daily basis. So go ahead and look up your calorie calculator online. You can just type in NIH body weight calorie calculator. Find how many calories you need every single day. Stick with that for a long period of time and you will be good to go on your calorie goals. Go ahead and like this video if it helped. Subscribe to the channel as we help individuals of all abilities inside the gym and become healthier in life. I'm going to link another video down in the pinned comment, giving you a few more great fitness tips and tricks as a beginner if you are just starting out. Thanks so much for watching.